Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm playing in the tier 9 British tank destroyer. It is the Tortoise, and for me this is definitely one of my favourite tank destroyers in the game. Why? Wild damage per minute, really good armor as of one of the latest patches. I think the patch around Christmas where they were messing around with the British tank destroyers, they made the Tortoise absolutely awesome. Now, I featured this tank on the channel in a video called The Rock in April. So if you want to know about the in-depth analysis of the armor layout of the Tortoise, then go check out that video because I'm not going to be repeating myself. Today's video is going to be focusing on the fact that I'm trying kind of a new thing with the Tortoise, and I'm trying this with my other super heavy tanks that get tracked quite often. And that is that you might notice that my consumables are a little bit weird on this vehicle. I'm using a small repair kit, a large repair kit, and I'm using pudding and tea as well because, you know, when you've got one of the highest DPM tanks in the game, I believe it is the second highest, you want to amplify that a little bit more, right? Now, I combine these two repair kits with a super heavy spore liner, because a lot of you might be thinking, oh wow, if surely with the amount of artillery and the stuns and the splashes and how many crew that you lose, you gotta have a med kit, right? However, with a super heavy spore liner, that provides you with 50% protection to your crew from them being incapacitated. And while I'm not saying that I've played the Tortoise hundreds of times, I've definitely played it at least 5 to 10 times since the update, and I haven't lost a crew member in the battle. So I guess that might be down to the super heavy spore liner, but I'm sure that I'm still long due for a very frustrating moment of where I do lose a crew member and then have no way to heal them inside the battle. But I guess that's kind of a sacrifice you've got to make, and just because you're going to be incapacitated for the rest of the battle, is that going to be... I mean, if you've lost your commander, it's just your view range, maybe obviously a little bit of your damage per minute, and then you're going to, I guess, repair your tracks more slowly and so on and so forth. But is that worth the risk to take 2 repair kits to stop the enemy from doing the #1 most annoying thing to a tank without a turret, and a rather slow one like this? And that is that they'll shoot your tracks twice. If they shoot your tracks twice and they get round the side of your vehicle after you've used your first repair kit, then you're pretty much dead. Right? And so I have this kind of attitude of, well, at least if I've got 2, then sometimes that can surprise the enemy and they can make a mistake, and then the Tortoise can get its gun round and then use its damage per minute to kill someone. And trust me, they will not last long against this. We're talking about, I'm probably packing over 4,000, maybe even about 4,300 damage per minute in this vehicle with an exceptionally skilled crew, a gun rammer and vents and that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, it is a toss-up between the metas that you could use. I could, of course, not use the super heavy spore liner in this vehicle, instead try and use a toolkit. And a toolkit allows you to get your tracks back on faster, but not instantly. And that's really where I feel like this will shine. This will shine in those kind of moments where you really have to get the tracks back on instantly twice to be able to stop somebody from getting around the side and then just taking away all of your hit points. And so, this is kind of a meta. Well, I'm not saying that it's a meta, it's just something that I'm trying out. It seems to be working out quite well for me so far. And it's something that I'm probably going to extend to some of my other really slow tank destroyers. But, of course, they need to be heavy tank destroyers as well without turrets, right? So here we go, perfect moment. T-54 makes a bold play on full health behind me. I use my first repair kit. He's firing heat into my tracks, which doesn't actually manage to damage my tank as well. Now he loads armor-piercing rounds, and this is where I really feel that we surprised the hell out of him. He did not expect this. He's bouncing standard rounds off my vehicle now because he probably didn't want to load heat, because I guess that he thought that he would go through my tracks and not my hull because of the spaced armor there. And now we're just bullying him, and there you go. So did I lose any health that T-54 there? No, the only time that I took damage from the T-54 is where he was spamming heat at me from long range. So he came in, obviously very confident, and we put, what, 2 shots into him? And more importantly, we locked his tracks down to enable our allies to be able to finish him off. And so we changed what was probably going to be, I'd say, 100% loss for this vehicle. I'm fairly sure that T-54 would have ended up in a sneaky location like this and just put a few rounds into me. Maybe this T-54E1 would have helped me. You can't depend on the Panzer 7. You shouldn't ever depend on your allies, right? Obviously you can try and make your plays to hope that they're going to help you, but it was so empowering for me there. It kind of felt like a trick me once, shame on you, trick me twice, shame on me kind of situation there, I guess, for the T-54. Although really he was not to know. So brilliant though. I really enjoyed that. And that's one of the highlights, and so let's see what I can do with it. I really felt encouraged from that now I might be able to use the Tortoise to come back into this game, even though we're 2 tanks down. And goodness, look at the caliber of the players on the enemy team. Some real decent players there that we're going to have to take out. Now you're starting to see the armor buff of the Tortoise. Unless they get the side of the vehicle, this thing is just very strong. And we're penning rounds into this Griller now, one into the top of his vehicle, also doing a little bit of spotting, and we punish the WZ-111 GFT. Now, both of those tanks just bounced heat rounds off the top of my vehicle, and the WZ-111 GFT, that Tier 9 Chinese tank destroyer, actually has the full Tier 10 tank destroyer gun, so that was like 395 millimeters of heat pen that bounced off the top of the Tortoise, and then I guess 330, 340 from the Griller. Now what I'm doing is I'm basically trying to wedge my tank slightly up the slope here. This is such a cool situation, while still using the gun depression of the Tortoise to further increase the angling on the upper part of my hull here. See this slope? Well, obviously, if I angle it further up, it's going to be even more beneficial to me, and so that's what I'm trying to do. And it also manages to cover my lower plate completely. And so that allows us, oh, I missed a moment there. We just penned a Hesh round into the Griller there. 498 damage. Now loading armor piercing to try and finish him off, but the TVP gets in the way, and I am not gonna say no to killing him. Great stuff. Oh, there's something really special about penetrating Hesh rounds on this vehicle. It does turn the damage per minute from crazy to absolutely ludicrous, with 515 average damage and still having 120 millimeters of penetration on the standard penetration of the Tortoise, which is one of the reasons why I like to take a lot of Hesh rounds in this vehicle. I just love this tank. Sure, it's not flashy, it's not going everywhere and outflanking its opponents, but when you just absolutely have to be rock solid and hold a location, then it can do very well. And while this gameplay, it might not look as if I'm trying to use the mobility that the vehicle doesn't have. It's not kind of going in and trying to find the tracks and so on and so forth. When the engagements are actually going down, it's the little movements and it's the little shots that really can make or break your Tortoise gameplay. A lot like that tracking shot on the T-54 and reacting to his tracking my vehicle twice, right? Okay, so now we put 2 rounds into the Lerva there, and I'm just working my way through the enemy team. Now we've got some momentum, 5,000 damage. That's an easy pen there. 0.31 accuracy on this vehicle and a fantastic 1.7 seconds aim time. And looks like the Griller is thinking about trying to get the top of my vehicle here. But remember, because the weak point is on the right-hand side when I'm facing him, or on the left-hand side when he's facing me, it's advantageous for me to be around this corner. If it was the other way, for example, and he was on this side and coming around, then he might be able to get a shot into the top. But look, when you angle your vehicle like this, your lower plate is still great, and it makes it much harder for them to hit the weak point on top. Okay, so now the siren sounds. I have to try and just hold these vehicles in place, but the M103 is spotted on my right. I react to it, I bounce a shell, think about going after him, but right now it's just about digging in on Siegfried Line. Remember, we're defending against an assault, so there's no need for us to kill all of the enemy tanks. All we have to do is survive. But we still got some rather dangerous players in good tier vehicles here that we're going to have to deal with. And look who comes, the Griller. Is he facing me? Is he trying to get an assassination on me? Let's just take a look to see where that fellow was facing. Yeah, he was coming around the corner ready to get the Tortoise. Good try, and you know what? I've got to respect that. Respect to the Griller on the enemy team for making that play to come in and try and take me out, and not just maybe try and farm up some damage at the end of the game. He's trying to win, and so I can only respect that. Now we're just hunting this Lerva, and there you go. One of the best things about having 2 repair kits is that you can just use one and not feel vulnerable. For example, maybe the Leopard hits me at long range now. Maybe I get hit by the artillery, something like that. It's not going to bother me because I've got the second one as a backup. And sure, I guess the idea of having this double repair kit meta is a little bit less useful than it would have been back in the day when you could only use your repair kits once in a battle. But I really feel in this tank it just seems to work. And well, we haven't lost any crews so far, even though we're down to 269 hit points, but then again we haven't been splashed by the artillery all game. Talking about being splashed by the artillery all game, I wonder where that artillery has been. Of course, we've used the buildings towards our south to look after us, so that suggests to me that he must be towards this kind of area here and not up towards the north, because if he was up towards the north, he probably could be looping in some shells as I was making my way down this alleyway. Anyway, advancing forth. Now the Tortoise is taking the fight to the enemy team, but only 7 seconds left on this battle. And there is the GW Tiger P, and we put one into the side of him. Probably should have loaded a Hesh round here. Nevertheless, the Panzer 7 finishes him off, and the Leopard, I believe, just manages to survive and doesn't get taken out by the Stridsvagn 1030. So there's one tank left at the end of this battle. But victory for us. We defended against the enemy team, and I would say the superior enemy team here, at least with regards to the experience and their statistics. And there's no doubt that the Tortoise showed its worth once again, picking up an ace tanker here, a cool headed medal for ricocheting 10 rounds in a row, and these were against large caliber guns. It's not like some 1357 on the enemy team came and held down his mouse button twice against us. Confederate medal for being a good support for the team, and a steel wall for blocking 4,600 damage, enough to kill our vehicle 2 times over, and a high caliber in a tier 10 game for 6,697 damage. Dealt 1,501 base experience points, and because we didn't fire many premium rounds here, we make 34,000 credits profit. An all-round killer game here for the Tortoise, and I really wanted to highlight that there's not just one way to set up a tank, right? There's different ways to specialize, and some of the modules in the game, or should I say equipment, like a super heavy spore liner, a lot of players can shun and brush aside, but maybe it's worth a look in on a vehicle like the Tortoise. Anyway, that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, make sure you give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments if there are any funky setups that you like to use on your vehicles. For example, are there some light tank drivers out there who like to increase the durability of their tracks by using those improved grouses or something? Or are they called coil springs? I don't even know. That's how unaware I am of this scenario. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.